This video is a bit different. My 2-year anniversary on Twitch just passed. To celebrate, I opened up a lot about myself with my chat on stream. I want my viewers to know who exactly Kitty DVR is as a person. I decided I'd talk about who I am and where I came from with them. I understand if you can't or don't want to sit through the whole. But before you go, thank you. Thank you for the massive amount of support over on Twitch. Thank you for the huge amount of support here on the YouTube channel. I'll continue to try my very best to bring you comfy vibes and smiles. I appreciate you all. So, without further ado, enjoy my ramblings. Okay, so where shall we start with the story time day today? Because again, today is going to be Lore Day. Lore! I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about me. Or a lot of bit about me. I'm going to share a lot of information. Because I feel like y'all know me, but y'all don't know me, I guess, right? Like, quote, right? So, let's start off. Let's start from the beginning, shall we? Small baby boy kid. Growing up, yeah? So, okay. 1995. Your boy was born. Your boy was born in the state of California, city of Los Angeles, to a family of 3, because I think my grandmother lived with us at the time, when I was a pappy, and you know, born and raised by my parents, Salvadorian. English was not my first language natively, and 2 years later down the road, my brother was born, so I have a sibling, and how do I go about telling this? So, grew up in a small apartment complex, if you will. Not exactly the most well-off area, not exactly the most well-off neighborhood. To put into perspective, or to give you an idea of what my neighborhood was like, we eventually had to move out because gang members were moving in, like actual genuine gang members were moving in to the complex. But yeah, grew up in my little apartment complex. There was a preschool nearby that I used to go to, and at this preschool is more or less where I started like picking up on English, along with TV shows like Dora the Explorer, and I'm trying to recall a lot of memories from then. Preschool was kind of fun. I remember it being somewhat fun for a bit, and I made my first few friends there. I can't remember their names for the life of me because it's preschool. I don't think I was even like 5 years old, or I must have been just barely like 5 years old, so I can't remember much of it. But I remember getting really close to a lot of the preschool teachers and stuff. Like, they were basically like second parents to me. My first day of preschool though was filled with me crying. Cause I didn't want to go, obviously. Like, I was such a mama's boy. I still am for the most part, but it was even more prevalent as a kid, right? So, Snowy, hi. You're just in time for me to give you stories of my childhood and my past up leading up until now. But yeah, preschool was a thing. Went to that for like a year or so. Graduated. And then I joined my first elementary school. I won't drop the name of the school because that would be doxing myself, because I still remember the name of the school. But I don't want to dox any information about me. I'm gonna tell you guys a lot about myself, but I'm not gonna exactly give you like my address or anything like that, right? I'm not gonna be like, here's where I used to live and here's where I did this. But let's just say it was a private school. Whoa! Nero! Yo! Thank you for the raid. Welcome raiders. Y'all are just in time for me to give you a bunch of lore about me as part of day 1 of my weekend streaming anniversary. I hope you guys enjoyed Nero's stream. You're just in time. I literally just started. Anniversary moment. Update. Hi. Hope your stream went well, Nero. Thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. Howdy. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's see. Nerd, hi. Just got off my meeting and saw you were streaming. It's the start of our anniversary weekend thing. And as I promised y'all, I was gonna tell y'all about my childhood and stuff and leading up until now, right? Right now we're at the very beginnings of my childhood, so y'all didn't miss much. Let's see, where was I? Oh yeah. So after preschool, right? Your boy finally has learned most of his English. Your boy was finally able to maintain a conversation in English for the most part. What is it? What was it? Okay, so English was finally learned, right? Through the help of like books and little story like gimmicky books that my parents used to give me, Dora the Explorer, and occasional chit chatter from my preschool. I was able to comprehend English for a bit. And so my parents were like, time to put you into elementary school. It's time for you to go into kindergarten and become even smarter than you already are. Education. So they dropped me off at a private school. Again, I won't tell you the name, but I will let you know that it is named after a saint, because private school. That's all I'll tell you. I won't tell you the actual name. What was it? So I went there. First year, pretty solid, pretty good, you know? We were allowed to nap and stuff. We were allowed to sleep in class because kindergarten. I made a few friends. I can tell you the names of my friends that I made there, because I don't remember their last names anyway, so it's not like you'd be able to find them. But I remember my first friend was this kid named Nathan. He was the first person to come up and talk to me, and the only person who actually gave me like the time of day, just randomly, you know, as opposed to everyone else who kind of ignored me for the most part. And Nathan would be my best friend up until first grade, because he left after first grade, which still makes me sad to this day, because you know, first grade is when the not fun stuff happened. First grade is when school started turning into a thing I wasn't fond of, because that's when the bullying came in. Oh boy. And it all started not because of my own fault, but because I decided to open my mouth and, you know, do something that I thought was good, right? So, story time. We were having a whole Thanksgiving event thing, right? In our first grade, we were setting up the classroom, decorating it all pretty and stuff, right? And the teacher explicitly told us, hey, don't go messing with the stuff that's on the walls, all right? Don't mess with these decorations. If you mess with them, we're taking it down, right? And so I was like, okay, I won't mess with the decorations. I sure hope nobody else will, because these decorations are really cool, and the last thing I want is for them to get taken down because they're really pretty. And so I see this one girl in my class. I still remember her name because I fucking hate her. Name was what was it? It was Stephanie, because we had two Stephanies. This is a no. It wasn't Stephanie. It was Samantha. Yeah, but we called her Sam. And hi Sagi. And what was it? She started messing with stuff, right? And so, what was it? She started messing with stuff on the board, right? Yeah. Oh God, it's Samantha. Yeah, and she started messing with stuff on the board. And so I told her, hey, our teacher told us specifically not to mess with this stuff, otherwise she would take him down, right? And so I tried to get her to stop. I took her hand off of the board, right? I was like, no, you don't do that. We don't want to lose our decoration privileges because you're touching stuff, right? But then the teacher caught us doing stuff at that moment, and all she saw was my hand on the board, right? And so this girl, to save face, was like, he's touching stuff on the board when he said not to, right? And, well, from that point on, everyone was like, boo, because teacher started taking it down, right? She was like, y'all can thank, I won't use my real name, y'all can thank Kitty for y'all's lack of decorations on the wall now, because I'm taking it down, right? And so that's when the bullying started in my school life. As early as first grade. Man, it was literally within like the first few months, right? Because this is like November. So it hadn't even been a whole year in first grade yet, and already people were like, it's time to pick on him because he fucked up our Thanksgiving. Yo, what's up, Sopra? You're just in time for kitty lore. Um, but yeah, and the reason Nathan, in my heart and in my head, even though he left after first grade, was my best friend, is because he was also the only person to console me. Because after all that and being put on blast by my teacher, I literally ran out the classroom crying. Uh, and Nathan, without hesitation, followed me out there and was like, "Hey, buddy, it's gonna be okay. You know, I saw what she did to you, and you're not in the wrong here, so don't worry about it," type of thing, right? So, uh, another feeling kid, except I was bullied because my ADHD when it was super active. Yeah. Um, what is it? Uh, so where am I right now? Uh, oh yeah. So first grade was the thing. That's when the bullying started happening, right? And then we move on to second grade. Nathan is no longer in my life. In second grade, I'm basically by myself, on my own. Right? I don't have any solid friendships yet because I'm still known as the kid who fucked up Thanksgiving and then cried about it. Right? At this point, I'm known as the crybaby kid who sits in the corner by himself. So, second grade comes in, and I had a wonderful teacher. She was super nice to me. Her name was, well, actually, could I tell you her name? Yeah, I probably could. Her name was Miss Ponce. Uh, the one teacher that kind of broke me out of that shell of like, I'm worthless. Nobody likes me type of deal, right? The teacher who snapped me all out of it because she was really nice to me, right? If I couldn't do something right, she was like, "Hey, it's okay. Take your time. You're you're only a child. A lot of these things are gonna be pretty hard for you." Type of spiel, right? And so, spent my few years in second grade kind of making friends. That's when I met a few, like my first ever friend group for the first time. My friends Nicholas, Henry, Nicholas, and God, was it? No, it was only Henry and Nicholas actually. I think it was only those two for now. It wasn't until later on that I made a few more friends. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention a thing. Oh wait, no, actually no. Second grade is when this happened, so never mind. I didn't forget to mention. I did make a few more friends, but the reason I don't consider them friends is because later on they became my bullies. After calling themselves my friends. And second grade, I have my first ever little friend group, right? Nicholas and Henry. They were super kind to me, super sweet. We played all the time during recess and stuff. And then this is I think where my social anxiety started coming into play, because we had older kids in the school. I type binary code. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. And so this is where my social anxiety starts coming into play, because we had older kids at the school, obviously, and they were all, second grade. Is very different from like kindergartners back then weren't able, at least in my school. I'm not sure if they do that in every school, but in kindergarten, I wasn't able to like interact with like the older kids, right? Whereas second grade, now you can interact with the older kids. Now you can go outside when you go out to recess. You're gonna see the fifth graders, sixth graders, and eighth graders, right? And this is the part where my social anxiety came into play, because I don't know what I did to garner the attention of these older kids, but Necromaster, hi. But the older girls, I think they were in 7th grade or 6th grade, some of them, but they would see me sitting on a bench by myself, right? And they would come up and try to talk to me. And this is where my fear of women started as a kid. Because as a boy, I was very shy of girls because of this. But they would like, I don't want to say they harassed me or anything. It's just they would come up to me and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, you're so cute. Look at you. Oh, why are you sitting here by yourself? Oh, you poor thing. Oh, you're so adorable." And me being not knowing how to socialize still because I didn't have many friends, and I was already, the reason I got picked on a lot was because of a girl in first grade. I looked at them and I was like, no, don't, bye, and I would run off, right? Catlin, thank you for the follow. Welcome. And so, and so I started running off, and this would be like a daily thing, by the way. This would be like a regular thing with these girls, right? Because I would also stay in our school's like little after school program, because at that time growing up, both of my parents worked a lot. My mom worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat back then, while my dad worked construction and stuff like that. So he was gone from like 5 in the morning to like 8 in the afternoon, right? Like 8 at night. And so my mom was out of work from like 8 in the morning till like 5, 6 in the afternoon. So I had to stay after school, and it would happen during recess, it would happen during lunch, and then it would happen after school. These girls would just come up to me, try and talk to me. I just want to sit by myself, right? I just want to be on my own, left alone, because I didn't trust anybody. I didn't want to get picked on some more, and I didn't know if these girls were doing this to pick on me or something, or try and like do something, right? So I would try and stay away from them. Also, hi Waitas, hello. You're just in time for anniversary stream. And so I would hide from them, and then at some point they finally got bored. It took and when I say at some point, I mean they finally got bored of me around 3rd, 4th grade. Which is why I was like, they had to be like 6th graders, I think, because they would, they would come to me for a while. It wasn't just like they were here 1 year and then gone. So this happened for like a year or 2. But yeah, 2nd grade happens. That's most of my life in 2nd grade. I just I don't know what the internet is yet, because we can't at the time. Oh no, wait. No, we did know what internet was, but it was I didn't play any games yet. Because we could barely afford a computer at the time. But the one that we did have was a very, very ancient computer, and we had AOL internet. And so the one thing that kept me pretty much stable in my younger years in my childhood and stuff was always what was it? Going home every night after schools and messaging my uncle in El Salvador. That would be most of my nights growing up on the computer as a kid. I had yet to discover video games at this age, at least online video games. And so my uncle took up most of my time online. Neil, hi. Hello. So like literally for up until like 5th grade, every night after school, before going off to bed, I would get on my computer to message my uncle on AOL Messenger to tell him about my day. He was like my diary. If I ever got bullied in school, I'd tell him. If I ever had a great day at school, I'd tell him. I would never tell my actual parents, because I don't know if this potential trigger warning, I don't know. But my parents weren't exactly the best growing up, which obviously growing up, growing up, they had a lot of stresses and stuff because of work, and my parents' way, at least my mom's way of dealing with her stress when it got too much was taking it out on myself and my brother. So potential trigger warning there. I won't go into too much detail, but childhood was rough for me. Yeah. Also, hold on to your questions, Toast, because I'll answer them later on. Right now this is mostly me talking at y'all, rather than answering questions just yet. But yeah, my childhood was relatively rough in terms of the emotional stuff, right? The mental and the emotional stuff, because I was already being bullied at school. I was essentially bullied at home. And the only person growing up that I could talk to was my uncle, right? He was the only one that I could confide in, to be like, I trust you. You are the one that I can tell every little thing about and not feel judged, or not feel like I'm going to be like attacked, right? Or belittled. as opposed to my parents, right? Like if I told my parents that I cried about something, they'd be like, "Why are you crying? You're a boy. Boys don't cry," right? Like that was usually what I was met with anytime I showed any kind of emotion growing up. That wasn't just like machismo type of thing, right? And so now we get into third grade, right? Second grade was kind of but third grade is where I met a few more friends. This is where I met my friends, Kyle and Elich, I think, is third grade is when my friend Elich came. Elich would be the one to replace Nathan for me. He became the go-to friend for everything. If I ever cried, if I ever felt really good, if I ever wanted to go anywhere, Elich would be the one that I'd hit up, right? He would be the one that I'd hit up. It's like we had like sleepovers almost every week, right? He would come to my place, I'd come to his, right? It got to the point almost where like he had siblings. He had like 2 younger sisters. They considered me family to an extent. Right? Like I would come home and they'd be like, "Ah, it's Kitty," you know, like, ah. They treated me like a cousin, essentially. Like I remember they called me cousin. Well, I can't use my real name, obviously. I'm not going to, but they would call me cousin Kitty. Right? My name obviously wasn't Kitty back then, but you know, that's what they would do. They'd be like, "It's cousin Kitty. He's here. Are you gonna stay? Are you gonna sleep over? Are you gonna eat breakfast with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. Y'all know the drill. If I'm here, it's because I'm sleeping over, right?" So a lot of my third grade years were spent with finally kind of coming out of my shell, right? Coming out of my shell. I'm doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all. Hi Firemaster, hi. Welcome to Kitty Lore Stream, where I tell you a story about my childhood and stuff, and then later on I'll answer some questions and stuff. It's like a Q&A type stream. But what was it? So, third grade, I'm spending my time finally getting over my, well, not completely over my anxieties, but I'm finally feeling like, you know, like I have friends. I've made friends. Maybe people will probably lighten up on the bullying now, because the bullying did kind of stop for a bit in third grade. It slowed down, right? Fourth grade was There's nothing too memorable about fourth grade other than my teacher had a pet gecko named Steve, and I would absolutely love to, you know, feed Steve and stuff and just like mess with him. Eagle, hi, thank you. You're just in time for Kitty Lore stream. Yeah, you're just you're a sucker for lore. Well, strap in then, because I got a bit of lore for y'all. Obviously I'm skimming on little details here and there, but if y'all ever have any questions about something later on when I'm done spewing all of my information to you guys, then you can ask your questions as much as you want, right? I started streaming specifically or earlier to you know, specifically a lot earlier to have enough time to tell you about myself and answer questions and stuff. Thank you for the follow, Anxie. But yeah, fourth grade not too memorable because nothing really that it like impacted me happened in fourth grade. But fifth grade, oh boy, fifth grade, that's when things kind of took a bit of a turn. Introduce school bully that would bully me for the rest of my school years until high school. His name was Eddie. This is when he transferred in. And literally within the first week of him transferring in to our school, he deemed me as he deemed me as somebody not worth talking to. But since he was a cool new transfer student, right, a lot of people wanted to be his friend right away. And so the friends that I had made, a majority of them, aside from Elich, Henry, and Nicholas, right, a lot of the ones that did call themselves my friends saw Eddie and saw how he would treat me, and they immediately jumped ship, right? And it kind of sucked, you know? Hope he audibly poops his pants in public. It's alright, don't worry. Lavilia, hi. Welcome to my lore stream, right? Tell Chad my story. My life from birth up until now. Not with every explicit little detail, but you know. Some things will be skipped out here and there because I either can't remember or because it's too personal. So, but yeah, Eddie, the kid who would essentially turn 90% of the class onto me, right? uh, because I don't know, he just. Actually, I do know. Do you guys want to know why it all started? Do you guys want to know why this all started? Y'all probably know. I've told you guys this before every now and again. It's not like I talk about it all the time though. But I'm Salvadorian, right? I'm a Latino boy. Born and raised here in California, but I'm Salvadorian. Eddie is not Salvadorian. Eddie was Mexican. And growing up, I was always told about beef between Mexicans and Salvadorians, which me, as a little kid, I never understood. I didn't understand it because, you know, I'm a young child. I don't know what racism is yet, right? I don't understand why somebody being Mexican meant that I couldn't be their friend, right? And vice versa, why a Mexican person couldn't be friends with me, right? Like, I didn't understand this as a kid. But my parents were very adamant about it at the time, like, Mexican people are the worst. Do not make friends with them, right? That was their shtick. And I assume Eddie's parents were the same, but speaking the opposite, right? Like, don't make friends with Salvadorians. They are the worst, right? And so Eddie brought this to school with him. I didn't, because I didn't understand it. I didn't care. I was like, if they're nice, they're nice. Why does it matter that they're Mexican, right? So Eddie brought this to school with him, obviously. And when he found out that I was Salvadorian, right, all the kids who were Mexican started picking up on Eddie's whole thing of, like, you know, Salvadorians are trash, right? They're not real Latinos. They're not this, they're not that, right? They are literally literally not worth your time type of deal, right? Subhuman in a way. And unfortunately, that stuck with me up until 8th grade. So the boy who was slowly getting past his anxieties and slowly becoming less and less of a crybaby immediately went back into that anxious boy, crybaby, and major trust issues, because everybody that I thought was close to me ditched me the second this Eddie kid showed up, right? This is where my life kind of turns into, like, not so much happy cheery, right? So apologies if y'all expected, like, lots of good times with me, right? But 5th grade onwards until 8th grade was not a good time. But this is where I found my escape, right? This is where video games come into play. So I start having my first ever experience with games, right? We finally started being able to afford some stuff at home, right? At this point, we had moved into our new place where we're no longer in our old apartment complex. We had moved into the place that I currently live at right now. We haven't moved ever since. We moved here and then we stuck here into this other apartment that we're in. And this is where games come into play. My dad bought us a computer. He bought us a cool little computer for the family, and this is where I found internet games. Games like Club Penguin and RuneScape. Primarily RuneScape. RuneScape, for those of you that don't know, is my drug. It is my addiction. It introduced me to a lot of things that I probably needed growing up, because it was on there that I made my first ever group of, like, internet friends around 6th grade. But 5th grade, I just kind of played it on my own. Like, I played Club Penguin and RuneScape on my own, right? I didn't really make any friends there because, again, I was so used to being picked on at school that I was like, why would online be any different? So I didn't make friends online yet. It wasn't until 6th grade that I started making friends online. But yeah, that's 5th grade. I discovered RuneScape, I discovered Club Penguin, and it was around this time that we also had our PlayStations and stuff like that as well. And so I think it was around this time where I discovered Kingdom Hearts 2, I think, right? Because I didn't play Kingdom Hearts 1 yet. I remember I specifically only bought Kingdom Hearts 2 because I didn't know about Kingdom Hearts 1, I think. Let's see. Yeah, it should have been around 5th grade that I discovered Kingdom Hearts 2. Also, I'll drink water in a second. Let me finish this thought before I forget it. But I played through that, and Kingdom Hearts 2 to this day is still my favorite game because it kind of this is where I think I got a lot of my my dumb morals from the game, right? As an impressionable 5th grader. I played through the game, and for those of you that don't know Kingdom Hearts or do know, the story is essentially Sora beat up bad evil things, right? Friends are my power, go friends, right? you can overcome anything with friends type of spiel, right? And so this game essentially taught me, right, that there are people with darkness in their hearts, and then there's people with light in their hearts, right? Because that's what the game essentially boiled down to, right? There's the dark and the light, right? The good and the evil, the good and the bad, and the only ones that matter are those that help you along the way, type of thing, right? And so, in my head at this point, I was like, bullies are just people filled with darkness, right? They are the ones that don't matter. They're the ones that'll eventually like fall, right? And my friends, just like Sora, my friends are my power. They were the ones filled with light. They were the ones that kept me going. They filled my heart with light. That was my thought process back then as a kid, like genuinely, like 100%. But let me drink some water really quick before I forget to. My bottle's over here. And so I was a huge nerd for Kingdom Hearts and things like that, right? And so I adopted that philosophy from Sora of like friendship is important. Right? Like genuine friendships are important. Cherish those that are dear to you, and they will help you out through thick and thin, right? And so 5th grade happens, I start getting into video games, I start getting into all that stuff, and 6th grade comes along. Our family computer essentially kind of died because I played on it so much, right? So what was it? So our family computer essentially kind of dies, we can't really use it anymore. But my dad was like, you know what, it's your birthday, on my birthday you got me a little laptop. And since I had a laptop, things got a little different when it came to me socializing and not socializing on the internet. Because another reason I didn't socialize a lot on the family computer is because it's a family computer, right? I had already gotten in trouble for trying to talk to people online on the family computer with my parents. Like, my mom had grounded me several times because of all that, right? So, what is it? So I got in trouble a lot, but the second I got the laptop, all bets were off, right? I would stay up in my room playing games, specifically RuneScape. At this point, I had kind of fallen out of my Club Penguin phase. I was super into the RuneScape phase. I was super into the RuneScape scene. Playing, I think I had just missed like 2007 like RuneScape at this point. I was in like 2008 like RuneScape. It was like the graphical update had just happened on RuneScape. And so, what was it? This is where I met my first few internet friends. It was a group of 5 of us. I can't remember all their names because we eventually learned each other's like first names, and we would talk to each other on like a first name basis type of thing. Because we were that close, right? Psycho, hello. Also, yeah, y'all, if y'all are participating in the meme review stuff, read Sopra's messages and pay attention to his instructions. But what was it? At this point, got into RuneScape. School was a mess. People were still making fun of me, right? I still had my friends and stuff like that. And, what was it? But at home, RuneScape became kind of like my scapegoat. I would come home, I'd grind, and I'd feel better. Because I'd pass the time, doing dumb little mundane tasks on RuneScape the way you normally do. And I would also be talking to my friends on a little thing called Skype. Not sure how many of y'all do or don't know Skype, but that was a thing before Discord. Zoomers probably don't know what Skype is, but we do. chill with the bread now, guys. Come on, don't spam chat too much. But what was it? Skype was a thing. Whoa, magical ball of light. Hello. But RuneScape was my escape, right? It was Erica, hi. RuneScape was a thing. I played it all the time. I would literally stay up on. This is where I messed up my sleep schedule. This is where I became like the kid who didn't sleep. For several reasons. Staying up late, anxiety, and just the thought of going back to school where literally everybody was against me except for like a handful of kids who were actually my friend. You know, kept me up at night. Unfortunately, right? I would have nightmares growing up as a kid. But RuneScape was my escape. I made some friends on there. And it was from that point on that I'd learned that like you can make friends almost anywhere, really, because these dudes that I met on RuneScape would continue to be my friends up until sophomore year of high school. So like I had known them literally 6th grade, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, right? Like that's a solid chunk of my life that these people that I had met on RuneScape on the internet, these randoms, these people that were complete strangers to me, I had met online, and they became friends. It's a testament, dude. I still think to this day that the internet, you can still make some noteworthy friendships online on here, which is why I always tell y'all you should definitely hang out and like get to know each other in the Discord, because who knows, maybe you'll make some decent friendships in there. But also, Erica, Jules, hi. Oh whoa, y'all are just in time for the lore spiel, me talking about my childhood and stuff up until now, because I promised y'all Friday would be like the lore stream where I talk to you guys about me growing up and my life and things like that, right? So, and then afterwards I'll answer any questions that y'all might have, and then I'll upload this whole VOD to YouTube, like uncut, just like raw 2 to 3 hour thing to YouTube. What is it? RuneScape, 6th grade. Okay. Oh yeah, another thing that messed me up in 5th grade before I move on. So I was getting bullied, I was getting picked on, right? I was getting made fun of, and I was at kind of like an all-time low. But I thought to myself, right? I'm in 5th grade. In 5th grade, you can finally do things like sports. You can finally do things like student council and stuff like that, right? You are a 5th grader. And so I thought to myself, well, let's join the student council. That'll be fun. You know, maybe it'll help me get over my shyness, because I don't like talking to people, because anybody that talked to me would make fun of me. But maybe if I'm on the student council, people will think I'm cool and leave me alone, type of spiel, right? And also I was genuinely interested in it at the time as well. So I applied. But I remember I wasn't exactly the best student in 5th grade. 5th grade is when a lot of my mental dipped, and it showed in my work ethic for school. I wasn't passing classes. I wasn't passing my subjects. I was failing tests, right? I wasn't doing the best, and it showed. And so, I would have a parent-teacher conference, right? Grades didn't affect whether or not you could be in the student council back then. Like in my school, like they didn't care. There was no like minimum requirement of like GPA or whatever. It was just, you know, you apply, and if you get enough votes and you get enough of this or whatever, you win. It was like a popularity contest in a sense, right? But so I applied, but it was happening around the time that parent-teacher conferences were happening. And so my mom, for those of you that don't know my parents, I haven't mentioned it up until now, they don't really speak English very well. They do speak English better now, but they didn't speak it very well back then. And so my mom would need a translator type of spiel, right? So one of the office ladies who was bilingual would always be her translator for us. So I remember my mom was very concerned about my grades, and what was it? She would translate for her, and at some point I remember something kind of got lost in translation, or maybe got a little muddied up, right? And so after the whole thing, the conference, right? My mom goes off, right? And then the teacher, my mom and I go off, right? We didn't think anything of it. It was just the typical like, yeah, he's just not doing his homework. He's messing up tests type of thing, right? And so we went on our merry way. I come back to school the next day. The teacher, at one point, I forget when during the day, the teacher pulls me out of the classroom to talk to me privately about something. So she's like, I need to talk to you. Come out here. And so, the rest of the class is inside. We're outside talking about stuff. And she looks me dead in the eyes, right? She looks at me and she goes, why did you lie to your mom about like your grades? Why did you blame me for your poor grades type of thing, right? And I looked at her and I said, what? That's literally not what I did. I don't tell my mom anything about my grades because she would literally potential trigger warning, I guess, as well. But she would literally beat my ass if I had bad grades, and she would ground me. The last thing I wanted to do was tell this woman that I was doing bad in school, right? So, at least not willingly. So, she's looking at me and she's telling me, right, like, you're a terrible, terrible child, lying to your parents like that and making me look bad, right? Like, she looked at me and said those exact words. I remember it because they ring through my head still to this day every now and again, right? So, and she then, after, getting whatever that was off her chest, looked at me and said, you're not gonna run for student council anymore, right? I am going to rip up your application because somebody like you who lies shouldn't be on the student council, right? And that is when my mental went from like kind of being stable, like it's working its way up, to down the drain, right? And it was that point that I was at the lowest in my life, because not only were kids against me, right? Not only were kids against me, but at this point teachers were, right? At least in my head they were. So after that, I didn't even go back into the classroom. I ran into the boys' bathroom and cried in a stall for like 30 minutes. And from that point on, I went back to being the quiet kid in class. I didn't raise my hand anymore. I didn't talk to any teachers. The only people I would talk to would be my friends, and it would only be during recess and lunch. After that, I didn't talk to anyone really, because again, my trust issues were very prominent. They were way up there, right? And they were way up there. Trust issues were high, anxieties were high. What I would assume back then to be, I guess, child depression was very high. I remember it was at this point that I contemplated like running away, right? Like just going off and being alone, right? Because my household experience wasn't the best either. My school experience wasn't good. Just things weren't very good in my life up at this point, right? Unfortunately. That's why I still have this mentality of like, what is it? I have this mental of like, at least people, like, I try not to judge people too much now, because you never know what they have going on at home, right? Like, you never know their person, like, what they battle with at home or internally, right? So I try not to judge too many people anymore, because God knows I didn't have the best experience growing up, and it affected me a lot back then. But this is where I would escape in 6th grade to things like RuneScape and stuff, what I mentioned earlier, right? Video games, Kingdom Hearts, RuneScape, things like that, right? That I would start playing online, and I would make friends on the internet who, obviously couldn't bully me because they had no idea what I was like on school. On the internet, I could be whatever I wanted to be, right? Online, I could be myself. because people didn't know like whether or not it was true, right? Like people wouldn't know that it was like me putting on an act or anything, because what they see is what they get type of thing on the internet, right? They can't fact check you or anything, right? Thank you for the follow, MK. Welcome. They can't check who you are, right? And so I acted like myself. I acted like the person I wanted to be. And so on RuneScape, I would be this absolute Chad, right? Confident, super talkative, shitposty, all the things, right? Like the complete polar opposite of what I was like at school because of my situation. Also, hi Paradox, and thank you for the follow. Welcome to the anniversary stream where I tell you a bunch of lore about myself. I tell you about my childhood and what has made me the person that I am today, at least what I assume made me the person that I am today. And then y'all can ask me a bunch of questions about me later. If you want in chat, I will answer anything. So right now I'm gonna do a lot of talking at you more than talking with y'all. So apologies if I don't respond to messages right away and things like that, right? But I will go back and read y'all's messages if you did say anything, along with answering questions. So be patient with me. We're almost at high school. But yeah, 6th grade. Distracting myself with RuneScape. This is where I became a bit more confident in myself. I started, at least online, not in person, online. I would be who I wanted to be, right? Very shitposty, energetic, you know, talkative, social, right? Essentially what I play up now even on stream, right? I play myself up a little bit on stream as well. But I gave myself this personality because I figured if I get bullied at school because I am quiet, because I'm not sociable, because I'm anxious, if I act the exact opposite online, maybe I can make some friends, right? And so I did that. I did just that. I acted the complete opposite of myself online to make friends, because I didn't have many growing up. I only had my handful of friends that didn't pick on me, and even then it wasn't enough, right? I needed more interaction, right? And so laptop, I would stay up, I'd play games with friends, I'd play RuneScape, I'd get to know these people, they'd be my friends on the internet up until like sophomore year of high school, right? And then I would play things on the side too, like Kingdom Hearts, things like Jak and Daxter, Crash Bandicoot, Sly Cooper, all these games that like I would use as kind of like an escape mechanism, right? I would come home and play games because I didn't want to deal with shit anymore, right? I would come home and just kind of want to forget about everything. So video games are my escape, right? But what is it? 6th grade comes along, or no, I think I just talked. Yeah, no, 6th grade comes along. I finished talking about 5th grade. 6th grade comes along, right? I have my second teacher, who I think was a good reason as to why I started kind of coming out of my not wanting to raise my hand, not wanting to participate spiel. She helped break me out of that because she was actually really nice to me, right? Because I'd literally just come from a class where a teacher was, you know, where a teacher had literally told me, you are a liar, you are not, you know, a liar, you are not worth being a part of the student council, you are a terrible child, right? Like a teacher had just told me these things, and so to me at that time, teachers were kind of like not to be trusted type of things, right? And so 6th year comes along, this teacher, her name is Miss Lopez. She's my English teacher, because back then in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade we had 3 teachers and they would rotate, right? They would rotate. We'd have our main teacher, but then we'd have the teachers that would rotate because they specialized in like a specific subject, right? So we had a teacher who would rotate for social studies, and a teacher who would come in and rotate for math. But Miss Lopez was like our English teacher and everything else, right? She was like the teacher for pretty much anything, right? And so they rotated. But Miss Lopez was our main teacher. She was the 6th grade teacher, right? And so she kind of like, she was like the second teacher to show interest in me and ask me like, what's up, right? She'd be the one that like would ask like why I'm not participating and things like that. Like, what can I do to help you do better type of thing, right? Like, talk to me type of deal. And so I to this day I still like absolutely cherish her and thank her for what she's done, because you know it was her and Miss Ponce, my second grade teacher, that were like very near and dear to my hearts, because they were always the ones to show me lots of kindness and like affection. They were like they were so nice to me that I didn't mention this. I forgot to. They were so nice to me that both at separate times back in second grade and now in sixth grade, I had moments where with Miss Ponce I almost called her mom. Same with Miss Lopez, I accidentally called her mom. I accidentally at some point in my life I accidentally called them both mom. Because of that, I probably should have turned off sound alerts too for today. Hi Hellfire, because I turned off most channel point redeems, and I should have turned off sound alerts for now. God, what was I talking about? Okay, yeah. So these were the only two teachers that I had called mom on accident, because they were essentially like nicer to me. They almost felt like mothers with how kind they were to me, right? Because my mom at home wasn't the kindest most of the time, right? She had her moments, but like a lot of the moments were spent with like her scaring the absolute shit out of me, right? I didn't talk to her a lot. I still don't talk to her a lot because a lot of that fear, even though I don't show it, is still ingrained into my brain, like in the back of my mind, right? Like it's still hard to talk to her even now because of all the shit she did to me growing up. So, but those were the two teachers that I accidentally called mom at some point. And Miss Lopez was a sweetheart. She helped me all the time. She would tutor me. If I needed anything, I could come to her. She was always very praising as well. Like I didn't have, again, Miss Ponce and Lopez were the only teachers to ever try and give me any kind of like pats on the back and like praise for doing anything good, right? Like if I, like, she was my English teacher, so we did poetry, essays, and things like that, right? Anything I turned in, she'd be like, this is really well done. You did a good job. Pat on the back, right? Like affirmation, you know, something that kids need. In my opinion, they need to hear like, you did good, right? Good job, proud of you type of thing, right? And so that was that, right? Nice teacher. Started slowly becoming more of like a participator in class, and also because hormones and stuff started kicking in, right? You know, I'm starting to become a teenager, my voice started changing and everything. I started getting that extra bit of testosterone, right? And so I started being a bit more angsty, edgy, right? And this is where my life would take a bit of a turn. I started getting fed up with a lot of shit, right? I started getting fed up with some bullshit, right? I was like, why the fuck are kids picking on me? I don't deserve this kind of shit, right? Like, just upset with the world and upset with my situation, right? So it was at this time that I started confronting my bullies in a way, right? Like they'd still beat the shit out of me, or well, not beat, I never got like beat up, but like they would still like shove me and stuff or whatever, right? But like I was attempting still to like stand up for myself, which is honestly, I look back at the child that I was and I'm very impressed with the fact that I would try and that I would try and stand up to kids who were significantly bigger than me for sixth graders. Like, sheesh, some of those kids really drank their milk. So but yeah, it was sixth grade that started being like my turning point, because I started acting confident online, and so that confidence kind of seeped into my real life just a little bit. Little by little, it was kind of seeping into my actual life. And so I started fighting back against my bullies here and there. I was still a bit of a crybaby. It was like, you ever seen that kid who tries to like stand up for themselves, right? They try and like talk about stuff, or they try to like raise their voice, but their voice is very shaky, right? That was me. That was basically me. I got very shaky, and I would get very teary-eyed anytime I tried to like stand up to somebody. I'd be like, you better stop, you know, like it was that. But I was making an effort, right? The attempt was there, the effort was there, it was showing. Seventh grade wasn't too notable. There wasn't much that happened in seventh grade. Other than, again, just more typical, like I would get bullied, I'd stand up to them slightly. But eighth grade is where everything 180'd, right? I got into my first brawl. It wasn't much of a fight. The fight was literally like, for those of y'all that have seen JoJo's at all, the JoJo Part 3 opening with the JoJo Part 3 opening where like Dio and Jotaro are just kind of ora-oraing at each other. That was my first fight. That's literally what my fight was like in 8th grade. It was just me and some other kid who had been bullying me, just throwing hands at each other, right? Just throwing punches and not really focusing where we're throwing them, just throwing them. And it was at that point that like the bullying had essentially stopped, because kids saw that I was willing to finally throw hands, right? Because at that point they were all talk, right? They would always say that they'd beat the shit out of me. They always said that they'd do stuff, and I'd be like, do it then, pussies, right? Like, do it, fucking do it. Because again, I became like an angry little shit, right? I was angsty. I was mad at the world because of how I was treated. So I was like, fucking do it. And finally this one kid's just like, he pushed me over the edge. We were playing kickball, and he had called me the F slur. He had called me the F slur, right? And that kind of pissed me off, right? Because I had a gay friend back then. He was really cool. He was one of my best friends, and he was super sweet to me. And so it kind of pissed me off when he called me the F slur, right? I was like, what the heck, dude? I'm not even... At that time, I was also very convinced that I was straight, so being called gay was very offensive to me as a kid. When it really shouldn't have been, to be honest. But like, anything like that was just like immediately like offensive. Like, you pissed me off if you at all said anything like that to me, because I was, in my head back then, I was overtly straight. Girls, I don't like guys, right? Because I didn't know what that was in 8th grade. I didn't know what bisexual was, or lesbians, or things. I didn't fully know. I kind of had an idea, but I wasn't fully aware of it, right? And so I got called the F slur. I walked up to him and I said, like, say that to my face, type of thing, right? Like, say that here where I can hear you, type of spiel. And he was like, you're a slur, right? And then I said, fuck you. And he said, what are you gonna do about it? And that's when I threw the first punch. That's when I was just kind of like, dah, right? I punched him right in the chest, and then it just became like an all-out brawl of just da, 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 right? Just back and forth, punches being thrown. And at that point, because this happened very like early in the year as well. This is like, 8th grade had just started, so. But yeah. So for the rest of 8th grade, people weren't picking on me as much, right? That's what it was. Oh. Aham, thank you for the follow. Hello, Lucent. Hi. Welcome to anniversary lore stream, where I tell you guys a bit of my childhood. So sorry if I don't interact with chat too much as I normally do. We're getting close to where we are in present day anyway. I just need to tell you guys about high school, and then I didn't really do much in college, so I can't tell y'all much about college. But I'm telling y'all a bit of me, about my story, and you guys get to learn a lot about me, right? Dang, need a Buff Kitty emote or Brawler. Y'all want to punch emo? I can try and get something like that commissioned at some point. But welcome. Take a seat, grab some popcorn or something, get some drinks, get all comfy, because it's story time with your boy. But yeah, 8th grade, from that point on, became kind of smooth sailing, because the bullies would finally notice that, like, holy shit, I guess if you pick on a kid long enough, he's gonna get ready to throw hands, right? And so they kind of left me alone. Eddie, the kid that I told y'all about that essentially started this whole bullying ring, Eddie and his gang finally kind of backed off from me for a little bit. And, the class that, like, where, like, 90% of them wasn't, what was it? 90% of the class that was, like, kind of not on my side because of that stuff that he had essentially like perpetuated and pushed around here and there, kind of like fell like beneath everyone's radar. Like, people started forgetting about it, right? And all they could really think about was the fact that I finally threw hands with somebody. The teachers and principals never found out. Nobody ever told the teachers anything, right? Like, we never got in trouble for the fight. So to this day, I never got caught after getting into my first and only fight. That was the only time I've ever fought somebody, because I was fed up. But 8th grade was smooth sailing from there on out, right? We graduate, we get to graduation day. You know, I say my goodbyes. I didn't have a phone all throughout 6th through 8th grade, so I couldn't maintain contact with pretty much anyone. And so, this is where my online friends started kind of replacing my IRL friends, right? I mentioned RuneScape was a heavy thing for me, and Skype was a thing, right? So, I spent a lot of my time socializing more so with them than I started socializing with anyone else. And now we enter high school. Kitty is now an angsty 14-year-old. The angst didn't go away. If anything, the angst only went up because I started kind of getting like my long messed up hair. I started wearing like black more often and types of things. I was in my emo phase, my angsty mad at the world phase type of thing, right? So I was very upset with the world. I was angsty. If anybody had a problem with me, they could fuck off type of personality, right? And so I didn't care. Freshman year of high school, I didn't care, right? Again, I was still very, very sad internally, right? I was still very, like, not happy with things in general. So, and again, it reflects in my grades, right? At this point, oh, pretty light again. Woo! I had adopted this kind of, like, life doesn't matter mentality, right? Like, I didn't care, right? I could die the next day and I would have been happy because it meant that I would no longer have to deal with the bullshit that I'd been putting up with up until that point, right? Very dark, I know. But I essentially didn't do my best in school. Freshman year, they even put me into this morning program to make sure that I would do good in school, right? Like they would check my homework and stuff like that, right? But like I still didn't do it. I didn't care. I was very against it, right? And this is where I guess my life took a kind of another dip, right? Because my poor grades were showing, and there was no way to really hide my report cards from my parents, right? Because they would always see it. And this is where I learned a very important life lesson that the things that you do can affect people very heavily, right? Like the way that you act and the things that you do can affect others in a great way, right? And I learned this through my mom because report card after report card, I was getting, you know, just straight D's for the most part, right? Like D's, F's, nothing good, right? And it was another private school. It was a private high school, so it was kind of pricey, right? Like going to the school is pricey. My parents weren't very you know, my parents weren't very well off. Our family wasn't very well off, so we were we were scraping by with this tuition, right? Like just barely. And with enough report cards like that, you tend to stress out a parent, right? If your parents care about your grades, you tend to stress them out if all you're presenting to them is D's and F's, right? So after a while, after some point towards the end of my freshman year, my mom got really sick. We didn't know what was wrong with her. She just got really sick out of nowhere, and she had to go to the hospital for it and have some surgery done. And the doctor had told us that the cause of her illness, the cause of her being so weak and fragile, was because of stress. And the stress had gotten to a point where, like, I forget which body part. It was like, it's like an organ that you can remove. What's that organ that you can kind of get rid of and like it doesn't affect you heavily? It was whatever that thing is called. The stress had gotten to a point where it essentially kind of caused her like internal pain on that specific thing in her body. Like it was swelling up and stuff because of like stress and anxieties and things like that. I think it was the appendix. No, not the kidney. No, like something smaller, not a kidney. But I know you can get rid of one kidney, but that still affects you. Like having one kidney affects you. I mean, like you can get rid of it and it's like nothing bad will happen, right? Like you won't be like slightly crippled at all. I think it was like the appendix or something like that. Gallbladder, probably gallbladder. I can't remember what it was specifically. This was like years ago, so it's hard to remember. But that basically got removed from her, right? And you know, again, I took this as kind of like you know, at the time I just thought she was sick, You know, she went to the hospital, she had surgery. I was like, oh, no big deal, right? I didn't know at the time that it was because I had been stressing her out with my report cards and stuff. So, we went to go visit her in the hospital. And, you know, seeing her there, to this day, I was like, damn, I was really a heartless bitch back then. Because I saw her in the bed and I felt nothing, right? I didn't feel anything at the time of seeing her in the hospital bed. Because, you know, this was the woman who had scared the ever-living shit out of me growing up, right? She was the woman that would, like, yell at me, make me want to lock myself in my room, you know? Like, so seeing her in the hospital bed in my head at that time was like karma. Right? Like, you're finally getting what's come to you type of thing, right? But it wasn't until on the car ride home, when it was just me and my dad in the car, that he looked at me and said, your mom's in the hospital. Or no, I didn't want to tell you this because I didn't know how you'd react, but your mom's in the hospital because of stress. She's been stressing out every night, losing sleep, because you've been doing bad in school. And so she had to get the surgery done because the stress had gotten to a point where it was affecting her physically. Right? Ah, God. Sorry. I need to shake that off. It fucks me up to this day still. Because, you know, my relationship with my mom since then has gotten a lot better. Oh. Okay. We push on. He looked at me and said that it was my fault, essentially. Right? And that's when I kind of took like a look internally at myself, right? That like, you know, shit, right? I'm doing something wrong, right? Also, thank you for timing them out. Clearly they can't read the room. But it was when I started looking at myself and thinking like, well, shit, I fucked up, right? it just kind of sucked, you know? Never had I been, you know, like, yeah, I was upset with my mom growing up a lot for like hitting me and like yelling at me and, you know, belittling me for like anything that I did wrong. But to know that she was in the hospital not because of like karma or anything, or just because of natural causes, but because it was my fault, that shit fucked me up. That shit fucked me up for the rest of my freshman year. It was at that point that my sleep schedule went from being able to fall asleep early to wake up early to getting no sleep, right? It went from going to bed at like 10 like p.m. to going to bed at like from going to bed at like, what was it, like 4 or 5 a.m. to wake up at like 6 a.m., right? So I was losing sleep because of this. And when my mom finally got out of the hospital, I remember just apologizing to her profusely, telling her that I would do better. I would at least try to, right? Because, I don't know, I wasn't the brightest kid. I wasn't that good. Tests were like the reason that I would fail anything, but sophomore year, I'd try my best to like, you know, start doing better, you know? And it kind of showed. It kind of showed for a little bit, right? I instead of getting D's and F's, I was getting C's and D's, so the effort started showing just a little bit there. But again, my mom was still very worried. She wasn't exactly happy with it, and I completely understand, right? I was still having to go to summer school to make up for grades, and school was expensive, and when your family doesn't make the most money, summer school just kind of adds an extra little bill that you shouldn't really have to be paying for. But sophomore year, I started cleaning up my act a little bit. Not the best, but a little bit. And then junior year, that's when I started getting a bit more active. I started, you know, really looking at myself and saying, like, I need to do a lot of things better to get myself ready for college and things like that, right? I need to join clubs. I need to do sports. I need to really buckle down and do good in school, right? So I went from C's and D's to like B's, C's, and like 1 or 2 D's, right? So like I was getting there. The progress was showing, right? My relationship with my mother from there then on out after her whole hospital thing started kind of climbing up, you know? So it I grew up a bit. Like it was definitely like kind of getting better, right? At things. My relationship with my mom was getting better because she saw that I was putting in the effort, and it went from kind of like this relationship of like, God, I hate my mom, to like the last thing I want to do is hurt her again, right? So I kept pushing. I tried my best, right? I did sports. I joined a club. And the club that I had joined was the one that kind of influenced what I wanted to do in life to this day, right? Here's a bit of extra lore. Here's something as to why I like doing what I do. Now it's because in junior year I joined my school's media team. We ran a little newsroom in my high school, and I got into it because I had some friends in there, right? And so I would go there every morning. Every morning we would prep a little news show for the school, because you know how like in some schools, maybe not all schools, I don't want to assume, but you know how like some kids would just kind of like, or like schools, they would have like somebody that would like speak over the radio, like, so today we're going to have this at lunch, blah 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 blah, and then today is national whatever day, so make sure that you like, you know, like that, but it's like over the intercom type of thing. We didn't do that. We had like TVs in every room, not the best TVs, they were really cheap, but like we had TVs in every room, and we would stream a news show where we talked about school events via like kind of like a little mini newsroom, right? So like we had the cameras, we had the teleprompters, and all this cool stuff, right? And so I got heavily involved in this because the teacher was super passionate about it, and he was also super nice, right? He would greet me a lot. Like he would always treat me with so much kindness. Like every morning I came into the class, or anyone really, he'd be like, "Hello." He was like French Canadian, by the way, so I might butcher like a bit of a French Canadian accent, but he'd be like, "Hello everyone, welcome to the class. Hello, good morning, good morning. I hope you guys are doing well." Blah 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 blah. Right? Like he was super energetic, super ecstatic, and that made me go like, "Yo, this is pretty cool. I like this a lot." And that's when I started getting into graphic design and editing and filming and recording and all these things that I really love to do now, right? Like, and I remember it was later on through that year that he really sparked that passion in me, right? Because he would have a student who graduated, right? He would bring us students that have graduated and stuff from our high school, being like, yeah, now I work at like I'm an internet like Fox, or I work at ABC, right? Like all these things, right? Like kids who had graduated from my school, who were in the same club that I was in, coming in saying like, yeah, now I get to work on like my favorite shows, or I get to work on this, right? Because I partook in this class, and then I took classes in college, like, you know, that helped kind of put my foot in the door, right? And so I fell in love with this class. I poured my heart and soul into this club, right? And so I poured my heart and soul into it. I gave him everything, to the point to where after junior year had happened and the seniors had graduated, and I became the seniors, right? We had lost a few of our like lead guys and stuff, right? We had lost our lead people, and so the teacher looked at me and said, he looked at me and he said, "You've been doing a wonderful job last year. So this year, I want you to be the technical director, the lead graphic designer, and like all these things," right? Like he wanted me as the front of like a lot of these things. And it was crazy to think about, because like never once had I had any kind of like figure, like a teacher or adult figure, look at me and say like, you know, like, "I'm proud of you. You did good work, and here is your reward," right? I had never been rewarded like this for my work, ever, right? And so it was insane to me, and I still thank this teacher to this day, because he helped me out a lot, like genuinely. Like I remember just being the absolute happiest in that classroom. Like I for once in my life, I didn't dread coming to school, right? Because like growing up, I dreaded school. I dreaded going to school from like most of my elementary to middle school life. I dreaded going to school most of my high school life because I just didn't want to be bothered with it anymore. But junior and senior years, my junior and senior year were just very different. You know, I was very happy for once. I was like looking forward to it because my work was actually being like admired for once, right? Like my fellow students would tell me like, that looks really good. Wow, look at that wow, that's a really good looking graphic. Cool animation thing you made there, right? Like all these things. And it led up to a point where we submitted our show, because every year we would submit like our newsroom stuff into our school's like there's like a national like competition thing for like schools who run like newsrooms and news shows things, right? And so we every year we would submit our stuff, right? We didn't win when I was in the club junior year, but senior year, toward the end of my year, we applied for that competition again, right? Some of our students who were able to flew out to Florida where the competition gets held to go like watch everything live, because it's like a big event, like it's like an actual event, like they hosted it like a place and everything. And so the people who were able to fly out to go see it flew out to go see it. I wasn't able to because I didn't have the money for it, and you know, it just wasn't gonna happen. And my grades were, I was still struggling very hard to maintain my good GPA, so getting caught up in things like that would have messed me up, because I was, again, like I was trying my best to do better, but I'm still not like a very smart student, right? But they fly off, they submit everything to the competition, right? And they come back from everything, and our teacher shouts in the next morning. He is ecstatic, even more energetic than usual, and he's like, we won the competition for best news performance from all high schools. And that made me so happy, because he told us that specifically the episode that had won was the episode that I had like directed, essentially, right? Like the episode that I did all the graphics for, that I did essentially the like everything with like the behind the scenes things was the episode that won, because I cover all the behind the scenes stuff back then. And so everything that I had done had essentially became the dub, right? And it was super, super cool to me. God, I still get a little emotional thinking about it, because he looked at me and said like, good job, right? God. And we came home with a $5,000 check for the program. We won a fatty 5K check, dude. Like that is insane for the program. And I remember like with that, we were able to get like fiber optics and stuff like that. We were able to upgrade our cameras to like some better cameras, and just the whole thing got so much better. And then obviously I was a little sad about it, because that was my last year, so I wasn't going to be able to like make full use of all the cool new equipment that we were getting. And so it was a little bittersweet. I was very happy, but at the same time I was like, you know what, that just means that the next kids who come in here will at least have you know, the stuff that we left them, right? Like they'll have better equipment to work with, and they'll be able to produce things that were even better than what I did, right? Which was really cool to me. And so from that point on, we graduate, right? We have our whole graduation spiel. I had had this passion ignited into me, and for once I had gotten decent grades at my school. To the point where my mom was finally like happy with me. Same with my dad. Like they looked at me, and even though I didn't get like a 3.0, I was very close to a 3.0. I got a 2.97. I still remember it because I'm butthurt. I'm still butthurt about it, because the reason I didn't get a 3.0 is because I got a C- in algebra 2, and I'm still upset about that. I could have had a 3.0, god damn it. You couldn't just give me a C? Come on. God. I worked so hard. You couldn't just give me a regular C and not a C-. Curse you. Keep me from that 3.0. But nonetheless, my parents were happy, and we even had like all celebration for it, you know? Right? Like you did your best, you did good. Right? Good job. I finally got like a good job from my parents for academic related things. So, you know, it was really nice. And then college happens, and then I didn't really do much in college. My college years were spent at a community college, um, and so my first year was just kind of taking general ed stuff, nothing too really major to talk about. And then yeah, we'll kind of skip over college stuff because not again nothing really notable happened. It was just kind of going to school again, but um, it was around this time, a year after going into college, that I started streaming. Now we're getting closer to present day. The story is starting to catch up to where we are currently. And I started streaming. Your boy didn't have money, your boy didn't have a job. Parents were very adamant about not letting me have a job because they wanted me to focus on school. They were like, you focus on your studies, no job, we will pay everything for you. Like, we will cover the bills for rent, we will cover food and things like that. We just want you to go do well in school, right? And so I remember it was somewhere down the line after coming home from school one day that my mom looked at me and was like, you know, I'd heard on the news somewhere, I had seen on the news there was a story about people who play video games and make money doing that. Why haven't you done that yet? She was like, you spent so much time on these video games, why haven't you tried making money playing them and stuff like that, right? And I was like, well, because one, I don't have the setup, and two, y'all always told me playing games was a waste of time. Right? Like, you know how parents are, right? You play video games, they're like, that's a waste of time. You know, you gotta do school, because video games, blah, 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 school forever, right? Degree matter, right? And so my mom looked at me and she was like, well, I didn't know you could make money off of it. So, I mean, if you want to try, why not, right? And I was like, well, I don't have a job, so I can't even buy a PC, right? And my mom was like, well, depending on how much one of those things costs, your dad and I will cover it for you, and we'll give you a shot. We'll let you try this whole streaming thing out, right? And I was like, really? You'll let me try? Because again, like, up until this point, any idea or anything that I wanted to do would immediately be like bashed down by my mom, right? Like, my mom would immediately shoot it down. Anything that I wanted to do, she'd be like, no, that's a waste of time, no, that costs money, no, blah blah blah, like whatever, right? Like, basically knows all up until this point. And she was like, yeah, you can try it, why not, go for it, right? And so I was like, okay, I'll try and come up with like a bunch of PC stuff, parts and things like that that won't run you too much. I'll try and keep. She was like, keep the budget at around $1,500, right? And I was like, okay, $1,500. That's our budget. Got it. And so I remember that I had saved up some birthday money then too, because I literally just wanted my parents to cover the PC, and then I would try and buy anything else with any money I had from like birthdays and stuff. So my parents bought me the PC. We got the parts, we built it, and then with my money is what I used to buy a microphone, and mic arm and things like little things here and there, right? And to give you guys a bit of an idea of how jank my setup was when I first started streaming, Dizzy, by the way, you were here pre-desk era, by the way. You were here before I had a proper desk and setup and everything, because Dizzy's been here for so long. But I used to play on my clothing drawer. I didn't have a desk and I didn't have a chair, so my streaming setup was literally a little snowball microphone on a little tripod, my 2 monitor setup, my PC, and a stool, because I didn't have a proper chair, I didn't have a proper desk, and this is how I started. And anytime anybody had to like grab clothes from my clothing drawer, like, because I have a brother and stuff, right? Anytime he would want to come in and like grab any of his clothes from the clothing drawer, because we share one, you would hear the slam of like the clothing drawer, and sometimes it would even knock my microphone over, or I would knock over my microphone. So yeah, the scuff days are still here, but but that was my humble little setup. I didn't have much. I didn't even have a webcam back then, and so I started off playing just desktop games, right? I started off playing Sekiro and Danganronpa, and within the first month of streaming, I don't want to say that I blew up, because I didn't really blow up, but I hit affiliate rather quick. It was like a month and a half or so that I hit affiliate, because Danganronpa V3 really put my channel, I guess, kind of out there, right? Sekiro didn't really do much. I just wanted to play Sekiro because Sekiro, but Danganronpa was like, you know, the fandom was absolutely crazy. I would have people tune in and like follow like left and right, and so I hit affiliate within a month and a half. And I remember, I remember being so happy about it that I called my mom on the phone because she was out that day. I called her and I was like, I was like, Mom, Mom, I hit affiliate. I can finally start making money playing video games, right? And I was kind of I'll expose myself a bit. I cried about it because I was so happy that I could finally start making money playing video games. And so when I called her crying on the phone, she was like, "Oh my gosh, what happened? What's wrong? What's going on? Is everything okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, everything's okay. I'm just really happy." You know? I'm just really happy about like achieving something. Right? Yeah, it was like an Xbox achievement. Also, hi Tron. Sorry, you cannot steal me right now. I'm doing a story time thing, but I'll answer questions and stuff soon here in a second. Because we're getting close to present day, and so then I start streaming. I start getting affiliate. I start deciding like it is time to make some money. It is time to grind. I make my sub badges within like the next day, within like 24 hours. I get my first ever emote. I get my friend Sin to draw me some emotes and stuff way back then, right? I started taking the streaming thing not super seriously, but seriously enough, right? Like I start putting a bit more effort into it. I make my panels. I make everything, right? My bit badges and all that stuff. I had like, or I didn't even have bit badges back then, but I had at least like the sub badges and the panels and everything done for the most part, right? The panels that you see now are still the panels that I made back then. Like I have not changed my panels at all. I feel like I need to update them now at some point. I just don't know what to do with them. Same with my sub badges. I feel like I want to upgrade my sub badges a bit. Same with the bit badges as well. C'est la vie. Then I started getting into like, you know, I still kept playing desktop games, right? It was Sekiro, it was Danganronpa, it was Okami, Psychonauts, like all these different games, right, that I would play because I was a variety streamer. I still kind of am, just not as much because I stream VR chat through the week and then my varieties on the weekends. But I was streaming 10-hour days essentially when I started up. I was streaming for 10 hours a day, right? I'd wake up, go to the gym, stream. Wake up, go to the gym, stream. Wake up, go to the gym, come home, stream, right? In the morning. Gym in the morning, and then at around 12 in the afternoon, I would start my stream, and I would stream up until like who knows how long, right? And this led to the heavy burnout. For once in my life, who would have thought that streaming every like day for 10 hours a day would result in burnout? Not this dumb boy. I was very like, you know, at that time back then, I was very adamant on the fact that like streaming longer hours equals more popularity, right? Like quantity over quality type of thing, right? So like I streamed longer hours, but the streams were kind of right? Like the quality wasn't really there because I spent so much time, you know, streaming rather than trying to focus on upgrading my content in any way, right? So I had hit affiliate, but I was kind of stagnant, right? So I didn't really do much. I was kind of stationary. I wasn't looking to like increase the quality of my streams just yet because I was focused on the time. And so after my first bit of burnout, I was like, okay, I need to take a bit of a break. I need to take a step back. And so I went from streaming 10 hours a day to 6 to 7. I chopped off 3 hours from my stream, and I decided instead of playing 2 games on stream, because I used to do like first half of the stream is this game, stop for like a lunch break, and then the next half of the stream would be this game, right? From now on, it was just like 6 to 7 hours of one game, right? And so 6 to 7 hour streams started being a thing every day. But then I burnt out again. I got really like demotivated, very burnt out, very like I'm not doing well because I was still focusing on numbers and things like that, right? Like I was averaging 3 to 5 viewers. If it was a good day, I'd be up at 10, right? And then I got very stagnant. I was like, no, this isn't working. So I said, okay, let's not stream every day because clearly streaming every day 6 to 7 hours and not getting any results is kind of mentally taxing. So I streamed every other day, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The schedule that we still have now, essentially. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The schedule stuck, right? And it worked. I wasn't burnt out as much because I had at least 2 days to myself, 2 days of free time. And I was still doing what I wanted to do. I was still streaming things that I wanted to stream. And I was having fun, right? At this point, the numbers kind of mattered, but I wasn't feeling like stressed, right? Like I wasn't feeling like I need to do a stream every day. I need to do this, blah, 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 right? And so time goes on. I'm still a desktop boy. I'm still playing desktop games. But then I start diving really heavily into like VR, right? I start thinking about VR chat because I started kind of like watching more VR related content at this point, right? Beat Saber, VR chat, Pavlov, like all these things that are exclusive to VR started piquing my interest. And at this point I had like a decently sized community that was like willing to help me, you know, through donations and stuff, help me get what I wanted to get, right? Slowly but surely. And so I remember announcing like, hey, I kind of want to get a VR headset because the Rift S had just come out and I kind of want to buy it so that we can start branching off into VR, right? No longer will we be limited to desk, but we can play games in VR now too. And so I remember I saved up some birthday money. I told my chat, like my back then, right? If we can get half of what I need here, I will put in the other half, we'll put it together, and we'll get ourselves our first VR headset. And so in comes the days of me getting my Rift S. Woo! Super, super cool, super excited, right? And that's when my VR chat stream started in 2019. In 2019, January is when I started VR chat. My journey had begun. I had started playing VR chat with mostly friends. It was just closed friend lobbies. We would play murder and do a bunch of stupid shit, right? And hi G, hi Wolf, hi. Thank you for the happy anniversaries. Sorry if sorry if I don't react to messages or anything. I'm not ignoring y'all. It's just I want to tell my like this whole story thing and not get sidetracked too much, so I don't forget like what I'm trying to say. But I will interact with y'all a bit more here soon. We're getting close to the present day, so I'll answer any questions y'all have for me in a bit. But thank you for the happy anniversaries. So I started streaming VR chat, right? It was just me and friend lobbies, like friends that I'd had like prior to the stream, right? Like boys like Sopra. Sopra's here, right? Sopra was in chat. Y'all saw him. Squee, Opti was here earlier. I don't know if Opti's still there. Opti, right? Sin, a few other friends as well, right? Like just friends here and there, right? That would come on and like do stupid stuff with me. Same with EO as well, right? And I would just stream it. I would just stream us going around doing stupid things for like a bunch of hours on like, you know, on a regular basis, right? VR chat had essentially taken up my life. Same with like Beat Saber. Like VR was just mind-blowing to me. I saw it all and I was like very happy about it. But then came the crash of like motivation, right? Like I'd been burning out, but I'd still wanted to stream, right? Like the burnout was more like energy burnout, right? Like it was like fatigue because I had been pushing myself with like these really long streams every day and then every other day, right? But now came like the first mental hit, the first dip in motivation. Because what had happened was I had been gaining viewers, right? Like my numbers had started going up. Again, I focused a lot on numbers at this point because I was like, I want to become like popular, right? I wanted to be a popular streamer on VR chat. And so I started focusing on numbers very heavily, right? And at one point, I remember having like a viewer average between 15 to 20, which to me was very mind-blowing because when I spent all of my time playing desktop games, right? My averages would be like 3 to 5, maybe 8 people, right? Like it was a lot smaller. I was never in the double digits. And for once, I was in the double digits consistently. And I was getting like raids from people and starting to make friends through Twitch, right? And it was nice. It was really cool. But then I just remember being told by a lot of people, right? Like, you're my favorite streamer. I like you a lot. You're really cool. I'll always tune into a stream, right? Like for once, people had started building up my confidence because my chat wasn't consisted of mostly just like friends. It was consisted of people that I didn't know that were just like, you know, regular viewers, right? They weren't people that like knew me on Discord and outside of stream stuff, right? And so they were building me up a lot. And then streams started happening where those people who were building me up stopped showing up, right? Those people who were telling me I was their favorite streamer, that, you know, I am this amazing person, right, that were building me up, stopped coming. My numbers started dipping again, right? I was no longer hitting double digits as often, right? And that took a pretty hefty hit on my confidence. Because, you know, when you hear from people, this is why I always kind of don't react too positively to people telling me that I am their favorite streamer now, because it's like synonymous. Is that the right word I'm looking for? It's synonymous with or it correlates to like my first like dip in confidence in myself, and my first like, you know, a time of being like kind of just like, am I even cut out to stream, right? Like, should I even, like, hitting the go live button was starting to become hard for me at this point, right? And the only reason I kept doing it was because it'd become a habit, right? It had become something that I had been used to doing, and I also just had nothing else to do, right? If I didn't stream, then I'd just be at my desk doing nothing, right? And then this PC that my parents had helped me get just becomes something that they wasted money on, and then my parents throughout all the years would be right that playing these games and stuff like that was just a waste of time, right? So I dipped. I kind of started thinking like, maybe I shouldn't stream just VR chat anymore. Maybe I should go back to doing my variety stuff, right? Like streaming other games like Beat Saber, the desktop games again, and things like that, because VR chat had started becoming kind of like a thing that I wasn't having fun with anymore because of that exact reason, right? But then at some point I kind of said fuck it again, right? And I hopped back on the saddle and started running around in like the lobbies and stuff, and this is where I started meeting like all the people that I kind of looked up to that are, you know, decent friends now, right? Like I started meeting all the other VR chat streamers for once and hanging out with them, and I started having a blast again, right? I started having fun. But then came my second I guess streamer anxieties, my second set of like, you know, where I was growing again, but it felt kind of undeserved, because once I started meeting all these people, right, they would raid me and stuff, and you know, that's how I would get a lot of followers and stuff, and like, you know, my numbers felt very undeserved because it felt like it was other people giving me views and not me gaining them myself, right? And so imposter syndrome starts to hit, and I'm just like, maybe I should stop streaming in these lobbies now. Maybe I should just kind of stick to solo stuff. And so I did. I pushed myself out. I stopped hanging out with everybody on streams. I just kind of started doing stuff solo like I do now, right? And so, because I was very afraid of being seen as a clout chaser. I was very afraid of being seen as somebody that's just using their friends for views, using their friends for like growth, right? Because, you know, while I had been, you know, making connections with the people that I looked up to that were also content creators on here, right? It also became like a worry of like, I don't want them to see me as somebody that's just like hanging out and being in the lobbies with them because I want to get views from them or things like that, or because I can't do stuff on my own, right? And it was also kind of hurtful every now and again to have somebody come into my chat and be like, yo, is that one streamer? Say hi to them for me. And then I'd be like, well, I can't really do that. I'm not gonna tell them some random person in chat says hi to them or whatever, and then they'd be like, well, all right then, bye, I'm gonna go watch them instead, right? You know? So it was very much like, I didn't want to use people for clout, And then anytime I was in the lobbies with people, 9 times out of 10, if people saw that a certain streamer was in my lobby, I won't name any names because it was pretty much with everyone, right? But that was the reason why I started kind of going off on my own, because you know, it just didn't feel, I didn't feel like I fit in. It didn't feel like I was a part of the community, and to an extent, I still don't feel like I fit in. But it's not as bad as that back then, because back then I was like, I can't talk to anybody, right? Like I can't request on anybody because chances are I'm just annoying them if I request, right? So, whereas now it's like I still don't necessarily feel like I fit in, but it's not a bad thing. Like I don't see it as a bad thing. It's more just like, yeah, I don't fit in because I don't see myself in those lobbies, right? It's nothing that, like, it's not that I'm down on myself anymore. It's more just like, it's fun to be in those lobbies, but I don't see myself creating content in them. At least not now, right? And so I stuck off to my own solo adventures like I am now. And I still absolutely adore the people that I've made friends with on VRChat. I still absolutely cherish them to this day. They've all been super wonderful to me, and they've all been super supportive, right? I won't name any names because I know the second I do, because I've been exposed the other day by Lefty. But what was it? Apparently, if I compliment my streamer friends, I'm gonna get exposed to them. But I just appreciate them a lot. I really do. And the kindness that they've shown me, the times that they've rated me and things like that, I genuinely appreciate, right? And so I kind of found my niche in a way. Well, it's not too niche because I'm not the only VRChat streamer that does this, that sits in front of a camera and talks to their chat. But I finally found something that I was like fully comfortable with, right? Sitting in front of a camera, just kind of world hopping here and there and just kind of exploring worlds with my chat, or just sitting down in one world and talking to chat, right? It was nice, right? And I started becoming more creative. I started thinking of different ways to entertain chat, right? Whether it was like story time type things, or singing, or even dancing, and just doing all these other things that I find a lot of enjoyment in now, right? It's stuff that I look back at now and I think like, yeah, like the streamer lobbies and stuff are really fun, and I enjoy them, and I don't regret them one bit. But because of imposter syndrome and things like that, and feeling like I'm using people, I don't think I would have discovered this. You know, moments like this where I get to be open with the chat about me, about myself, and, you know, genuinely enjoy my time. And of course now as well, I'm slowly getting over that whole fear of having people feel like I'm using them for content, as you've been seeing, because we've had G and Dichi on the stream back to back this week, and we've also had friends on streams here and there as well in the past, and it's slowly but surely I'm overcoming that fear of people, or using, like, you know, of having people think that I'm using them for content, when really all it is just I just want to have a good time, you know? And here we are in present day. Now we're here, present day kitty, streaming VRChat to those of y'all that want to give me the time of day and want to come and talk to me. You know, I said this the other day, but I feel like I should say it again because it didn't feel as genuine since I was simping so hard for Catboys. So I'll say it now that we're not simping and, you know, drooling over Catboys, so it'll come off as a bit more genuine, I hope. But you know, God, I'm an emotional piece of shit, and I'm gonna try and say this without breaking face. But thank you to those of you that have stuck with me, whether it be from the start of my streaming career, the middle, or even just recently, and allowing me to do what I do. You know, back when I didn't have a job and Twitch was my only means of income, y'all are the reason that I have, like, what I have now, right? Fuck. No. And I genuinely appreciate it. God. I've already cried on stream 3 times. I can't let a 4th one happen. just thank you for letting me be who I am. And, you know, being here with me on days, even when you guys aren't feeling too good. And you still decide to tune in and use me as like a way to feel better, right? Thank you for supporting me these past 2 years. I genuinely will never understand how you guys put up with me, but I really appreciate it. Gosh, tears are coming down, but I'm not gonna cry. Thank you guys for being an absolutely incredible community. You know, we're not the biggest community out there, but I think this small little community we have here is perfect for someone like me. And if we ever do get to a point where we can apply for partner, you guys will be the first ones that I think, because I couldn't have done it on my own. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for everything. You guys mean the world to me.